One of the most common questions I get from a prospective buyer in Katy is whether or not they should consider resale or new construction. And my answer, as with everything, is it depends. Every buyer has their own set of preferences, wish lists, and budget. Let's get to the pros and cons of buying resale or new construction in Katy. Hi, I'm Carolyn Bauerschlag, a local real estate agent right here in West Houston, helping people just like you relocate from all over the country right to our great city. The first thing that I ask buyers to consider when they're debating new construction or resale is, of course, location. If you want new construction, you have to be north of I-10. The vast majority of every bit of new construction is going to be on that northwest quadrant of Katy, west of the Grand Parkway, and north of I-10. And if you're considering resale, resale is all over the Katy area, both north and south. But I would say in the south area of Katy ISD, you're not really going to find much new construction at all. If there is some, it's going to be one-off pockets of neighborhoods, maybe 20, 30 houses here or there in little micro pockets. Location is almost always the number one driver and where a buyer is ultimately going to buy. So if north versus south is important to you, that's definitely something to put in your back pocket. If location's not the number one decision maker, then price probably is. And right now, your dollar is going to go further on the north side of Katy ISD. Now, new construction is running the best deals, right? So if you're financing a loan, these builders are going to offer crazy incentives to you. And if you're buying cash, they'll still lower the price in order for you to get a great deal on a brand new home. Now, as I mentioned before, there's not as much new construction that's happening south of I-10, so those deals aren't really there. Everything's locked in, everything is a known quantity south of I-10 in Katy. So what that means is pretty much everything's gonna be universally more expensive. So if what you're trying to do is tend to a smaller budget, I would say new construction homes on the north side is probably the right choice for you. Another big factor in buyers' decision-making processes are master plan communities. Now, we've mentioned before that Houston doesn't really have zoning restrictions, so HOAs and then master plan communities tend to be big factors in how buyers are going to live out their lives in their homes, right? So if what you're after is a big, full-blown, fully developed master plan community, the vast majority of those are going to already be completed on the south side of I-10. Those are going to be resale homes. So places like Cinco Ranch, Seven Meadows, Firethorn, Grand Lakes, all of those are fully developed south of I-10 resale homes. And I love them, right? You know what you're going to get. You can see what the appreciation is going to look like. Now, there are master plan communities on the north side of I-10, but they're fewer and farther in between. So the two that come to mind are going to be Cane Island, which is closer to I-10, out zoned towards Katy High School. And then the other one is going to be Ellison, and Ellison is further up 99, closer to 529. So it's a good jaunt north of I-10. Those two communities are absolutely beautiful when you drive through them. And those are what I would consider premier. Now there's another community called Grange that's going in North Katy, just to the northwest of Cane Island. And I think that is going to be another fabulous development. It's being done by Johnson Development, who did Cross Creek Ranch in Katy ISD. But I would also say on north side of Katy, where the new construction is, there's also lots of little pocket communities as well. So if your pathway is new construction and master plan community, it's probably got to be north of I-10. It's going to probably be Cane Island, or it's going to be Ellison or Grange. Another hidden factor to really consider if you're going to buy new construction or resale are the amenities that are nearby. Now this one's kind of sneaky, right? Because it's very chicken or egg. The reality is that everyone wants to move into new construction because it's fun and it's shiny, it's new, but you're going to probably be on the outer reaches of whatever that location is. You're going to be the furthest from the creature comforts. So it's going to be your grocery stores, your gyms, your nail salon, your dry cleaner, your restaurants, your shopping, your retail. Any of that is going to be most closely associated with the highest density of population, right? Because the population is there to justify the businesses being supported by people who want to spend their money there. So when you're considering new construction or resale is going to be right around all of the fun things that are easy to get to on a 4 or 5 minute drive. If you're going new construction, recognize that you probably will eventually get your Target or your H-E-B or your Home Goods or your Chick-fil-A, but it might be 5, 6, 7 years before it's not a 15-minute drive for you to get there. Another very important but kind of hidden factor in whether or not you should buy new construction or resale is going to be the tax rate. So in new construction, these homes are going into areas that were previously rice fields or someone's pasture or undeveloped land where there's quite literally no infrastructure. So these municipalities have to raise money in the form of debt to put in roads and sewers and gas lines and electricity so that these places can become habitable. And that debt gets paid off by property taxes. Those property taxes are paid in the form of what we call mud bonds or mud tax rates, right? So in new construction areas, yes, it's shiny, it's new, it's awesome. You are also probably going to have a tax rate that's a decent bump above what resale home tax rates are. Now, Texas is a property tax state that is pretty significant, right? So I would say imagining a tax rate of about 2.5% kind of in and around the Katy area is a pretty fair estimate. So when we're talking about deviations, what I mean is that new construction with brand new municipalities are going to have tax rates that are probably closer to 3.6, 3.65, and resale areas are going to be closer to that 2.5% tax rate and maybe even a little bit lower. I think our lowest in Katy right now is at Seven Meadows, and it's somewhere right around 1.9%. So for anyone who is budget sensitive, and I think we all are, property taxes are a major consideration. So don't forget to factor that in when you're considering new construction or resale. The last major factor that I want every buyer to consider is the quality of construction materials used. Now, unfortunately, this is highly circumstantial. It goes not only by time, but also by builder. And here's what I mean by that. I think there's an underlying assumption that older is broken, or older is more apt to break, or is perhaps not as good quality. And that newer, on the flip side, is more trustworthy. It's going to be fine, it won't break. But I can tell you story after story after story with something that's new that isn't necessarily as good as what it once was. So if I had to give you an opinion, my favorite home is something that was built past 2002. And you say, why 2002? It's very specific. 2002, 2003 was about the time that double pane windows became standard on homes in for the building code. And in Katy, Texas, that encompasses a wide swath of our resale market, right? So you're going to have double pane windows. You might have energy efficiency like radiant barrier in your attic. You're probably going to have PEX plumbing. It's for sure going to be PVC. You're going to have post-tension cables in your slab. And that home is still 20, 23 years old, right? But all of those structural elements there are still so important and integral to the way that new construction is being built right now. Now, new construction today has post-tension cables in the slab. They do have PVC plumbing. They're supposed to have radiant barrier. Their insulation might be better and it might not. It's just hyper-specific to the builder. What we've experienced in the last couple of years in a post-pandemic boom is that builders were looking to keep their margins as high as they possibly could, which meant that as land prices went up, they started stripping things out of the inside of a home that you and I might expect on anything that was new construction. What I mean by that is like the light fixtures that used to go over a mirror in a vanity are missing. The baseboards that used to be 5 inches on a new construction home are now 2 inches. And it calls into question, at least for me, if I can see things are missing for the way that the home feels and looks, it makes me wonder what the home is missing with the quality of construction at the back. Now, put differently, I've also seen certain builders move from having a high quality shingle, we like to call those an architectural shingle, into something that we call a 3-tab shingle. And I didn't even know that product existed, except that they came up on inspection, and I thought that that was literally like, who would buy that, right? A 3-tab shingle is literally asphalt wallpaper on the top of your house. And it's a product that lasts less than half of the time of an architectural shingle. But because builders were looking to shave off margins, they got rid of the architectural shingle. Some of them did. We've also seen builders cut corners where they don't necessarily put brick on the back of a house anymore, or you don't get a covered patio at the back of your home, or there's not gutters on all 4 sides, or we used to put French drains in the yard and we don't do that anymore, right? And all of those are cost-cutting measures that I think can erode, both literally and figuratively, the quality of the home the day that you buy it. Now, I personally am of the opinion that you should not be allowed to get debt on a home for 30 years if in fact that home is not going to last you 30 years. So when I'm looking at a new construction property, I am always encouraging our buyers to look for the things that I know should be a part of a home that you are paying good money for. So it's not universally true that new construction today is not as good as it was 20 years ago. And it's not universally true that resale properties built in 2002 are better than something that's being built right now. But I do want us to be careful and discern which path is best for you based on your wishes, hopes, and dreams. One of my favorite things to do is to speak with buyers that are just like you, who are contemplating a search and want to take their wishes and dreams and turn it into a plan of action. If you're thinking of moving to the Katy area, I would love to be your realtor. I'm a living, breathing person ready to take your call, and the best way to contact me can be found in the description below. And if you found value in this video today, make sure to click the link below and subscribe, because we put content like this out every single week. See you soon.